When God writes history, he writes it quite differently from anybody else. But see, when human beings write history, it's just the history of, I've just randomly chosen one just for your idea. It ends with in the year 2000. Okay. So when human beings write history, they cover all that is past right up to now. And of course, they cover what happens down here on earth, but it's only partial. It's only part of the history. Actually, history is, I've told you before, it's his story. And when the Lord writes history, if you see the Lord's history, he gives us the whole picture, not just what is past until now, but what is future and what will happen then. Not just what happens down here on earth, but what happens up in heaven. And so we have this total picture of history, not just the past, but the future, and not just the earth, but heaven too. Now that's why the book of Revelation goes into the future, goes up to heaven to look into the future there, and goes into the future here on earth. So we are constantly going up to heaven and down on earth. So for example, so what happens in heaven affects what happens down on earth. For example, when Satan is finally, how many of you read chapter 12? You'll know that when Satan is finally thrown out of heaven in chapter 12, he comes down to earth frustrated and angry and full of fury to vent his worst down here. And then what happens is, the Antichrist and the false prophet appear. So we get the whole picture, the total history from the book of Revelation, and we call that the apocalyptic history. The word apocalypsis in Greek, does anyone know what is apocalypsis? You have to, sorry? No, it just means unveiling.
End of time.
No, unveiling. Okay, unveiling. So it's just drawing the curtain away. The curtain that hides heaven and the curtain that hides our future. And until these curtains, God unveils the future. So until these are removed, we can't see what's going to happen down here, the future. And God unveils it for us. He shows us heaven. In heaven, what's going to happen? On earth, what's going to happen? So we get the total understanding of his story. Okay. Now let's move on to chapter 4 and 5. You can keep the Bible open to chapter 4 and 5. It's exactly what Robin chose. Okay, the scene there is worship. I just want to give a brief overview of chapter 4 and 5. Chapter 4, you see, it's a very, blurry, but just to give you the idea. Chapter 4 is about the Creator and his creatures. It's a magnificent scene. You have to just imagine. There's a beautiful emerald rainbow around the white throne. God is on the throne. It's a white throne with an emerald rainbow. And then around the throne, you see the glassy sea and some rather strange looking creatures. You can see those creatures, one looking like a man and one like an eagle. So all these living creatures you can see there, and they're all worshiping God. And then there are those 24 elders around the throne. They are worshiping God. And from chapter 4 to 5, we get tremendous number of choruses and songs and hymns, which we use in worship, like what Robin did today. And those choruses and hymns were written from these chapters only, and which we see now. So this chapter 4 to 5 is full of worship songs, the book of Revelation is not just, full of beauty and art. Many artists have drawn their inspiration from this book. They have painted, they have, sculptors have drawn inspiration from this book, but also it's full of music as well as full of singing, songs of praise. So in chapter 4, what happens is John is invited to heaven. Come up here, God says, come up to heaven. Though his body, where was he at the time of Revelation? I told you last time, where was he? In the island of Patmos, yes, in prison. So his body was in prison, but his spirit went up to heaven. And there, in heaven, he's seeing the beauty of heaven itself, seeing the beauty and peace of heaven, the colors, and above all, the security, the peace. And he sees one magnificent scene, that is God is sitting on the throne. So the truth in Revelation 4 is God is still on the throne. God has not surrendered his sovereignty to anyone, not to the enemy, not to anyone. He is still sovereign. He's still on the throne. He's still in control of the enemy, Satan, and everything that goes on here on earth, up in heaven. Nothing can happen without God's permission. He is on the throne. History is not out of control. Now, when we read the newspaper every day, we think, what's going on? What is God doing? We get so puzzled. Is God even looking down here? You might think, what's going on in my life? Does God know anything? Does God watch all that is happening around us? Yes, that's what John saw. He saw God sitting on the throne. He's still in control there. And, so everything is under God's control. He is still on the throne. Your situation is not beyond his control. He is in total control. He's not going to let anything happen that he will not allow anything, even Satan, to do anything to us or anybody. So he is in control of his children's life. What is happening down on earth, what is happening down up in heaven is all under his control. Then you see those on the right side or even on the left, you see the 24 elders, falling and worshiping. The number 24 appears many times in Revelation. 24, you see many times. So that's why, it is the representation of the 12. Can anyone guess what that is? Why 24?
12 tribes of Judah.
12 tribes of Israel. Yeah, 12 tribes of Israel. And
Judah,
the other 12?
I mean, of Israel.
Yes, of Israel. And then the other 12? The 12 apostles. Okay, it just represents or signifies the future of the Jewish people and the Christians are one. We shall be as one flock under one shepherd. So the Jews and Christians are going to be one under one shepherd. But so here we are told that the old Jewish people, the people of God, and the new people, us Christians, are always represented as 24. That's why in heaven also you see that number 24. That just signifies we are going to be together as one people. Then in chapter 5, John bursts out crying. You see him crying there. And he's weeping because God tells him that God will not bring history to an end through a man, because there's nobody worthy, he says, nobody worthy. So they're looking through heaven, not a man is worthy to open the scroll. What does it mean? Why is he crying? He's saying history is not going to come to an end. What do I mean by that? I'll explain to you. As we go on, you'll understand how history is going to come to an end. So it's not going, so nobody is worthy to open that scroll. There's a scroll and he realizes there's not anyone who is worthy to open the scroll. And so he cries and he cries, oh, it's going to be like this forever. So he cries. And then they say, don't cry, because look, and there he sees the combination of a lion and a, what is the other one? What is the other animal you see? A lion and a
And
lamb. Actually, the lamb has 7 horns. It's not, nicely illustrated here, but just to give you an idea. So who is the lion?
Jesus.
The
Aslan
lion of
The
from
second
the
coming of
movie
Jesus.
the Lion of Judah.
The
So,
Jesus.
and the lamb is the lamb that was slain. You can see, he could see that the lamb was slain, and yet he is alive. So it's Jesus, of course, he is represented by the lion as a Lion of Judah and the lamb that takes away the sin of the world. So he's saying, God is saying, this man, Jesus, he is worthy to open the seals. And so there begins the countdown. The seals, if you see, starts the countdown of history. And so Jesus is worthy. And there they are singing, he is worthy. He alone is worthy to receive all power and honor and glory. That's what people are, they are singing in heaven, to receive honor, glory, and power. And Jesus at last is going to bring this. Is this history, a beautiful, happy story that we see throughout history? It's a sordid history. Our human race, throughout has been suffering. It's a sad and a sordid story. And Jesus is going to bring an end to all of this. This world is not going to go on and on in the present form. So it's going to end somewhere. Jesus is going to end. It's not somebody, a man is not going to press the button, nuclear war or whatever. God is not going to allow that. It's going to be Jesus who is going to bring history to an end. So we don't have to fear, as God's children, we don't have to fear when we hear of nuclear war or whatever. The fears that we have, we don't have to, because Jesus is in control. And so and also you see that, during the rebellion, when Adam and Eve rebelled against God, he gave human race a death sentence. What do I mean by that? See, imagine if in the present form, evil men like, Hitler or any of the evil men who live, Saddam or somebody, had lived, continued to live, and if they didn't die, imagine what the plight of the world would be now. Can you imagine? So he gave human beings, to precisely stop human beings from polluting the world, the universe, morally and materially. God put an end to he limited their lifespan. So it has to come to an end. Everyone has only maybe maximum 110 years or 70 or 80. Thank God for that. And one day this human race will come to an end. But the good news is the end will be the beginning. So now let's come to chapter 6 to 16. I would call this the heart of Revelation. It's actually the worst part, you can say. It's the worst part. It's all bad news. But I love the fact and the honesty of Jesus. I love the honesty of Jesus. He's always honest with us. He says, cheer up, says Jesus. He promised us trouble. He didn't say everything is going to be all right at the end times. He said, there will be trouble. There will be great tribulation. Paul also said that in Acts chapter 14 and verse 22, he says that through great tribulation, listen carefully, through great tribulation, you will enter the kingdom of God. He didn't say with a cushy life, you'll enter the kingdom of God. He said through great tribulation. So here's the good news. What's the good news? nothing worse can happen to you and to me than described in chapter 6 to 16. Jesus told us the worst. What, and he told us, so you have to get ready. Well, Jesus says to us, things are going to get bad, very bad. Towards the end of this age, it's going to be very bad. So from chapter 6 to 16, we have a series of troubles called, and they together constitute the big trouble or the tribulation, great tribulation, like never before it has happened. It's going to be terrible. And this comes in 3 series. It starts with the seals, the 7 seals. The 7 seals, then the 7 trumpets, followed by the 7 trumpets and the 7 bowls of wrath. I'll come back to that. So let's run through it so we know what they are. Okay, and you see that in every first 7 seals, then the 7 trumpets and the 7 bowls of wrath, the 7 in each is the same thing. If you see, the 7th one is an earthquake. Have you seen that? 7th one is an earthquake in the seals. And then if you see the trumpet, the 7th trumpet is also earthquake. And if you see the 7 bowls of wrath, it ends with earthquake. So the 7 in each is the same thing. It is earthquake. Okay. But then the first seal starts with the horsemen. So the first horse is a white horse. If you see the right side, right end is a white horse. Does anyone know what a white horse signifies? Okay, it's a white horse, a red horse, a black horse, an ashen horse, or a green horse. Some, some versions say green or some say ashen. So what does the white horse signify? The white horse is a symbol of military aggression. So, when there is military aggression, what happens? What follows is the red horse, which is the symbol of blood. So when there is military aggression, there is always bloodshed. Okay? When there is bloodshed, what happens is there is always famine, malnourishment, and that is the famine is denoted here by the black horse. Black horse denotes famine and malnourishment. And then what follows when there is famine? Diseases, pestilence, plague, and then death. So these are the first 4 seals that you see. So I explained to you all of them. Now we are in the 5th. So now you may say, we already had several wars, okay? There was already military aggression. There were World War I, World War II. So all this we already had. And also there has been famine. So you may say, are these horses already riding through the earth? No. They are just foreshadows. These are going to happen during the end of history. You can see their foreshadows right now, but these horses will ride during the end times. And then the seal 5 is for, believers, martyrs. Martyrs are crying out around the altar. Martyrs are crying out for the persecuted believers. There are more martyrs, hundreds and thousands of martyrs now than ever before. We may think during the Roman times, so many were killed, but far too many are killed right now in the Middle East, in China, So it's already happening, but during the end times, it's going to be more severe, more intense. So these martyrs who've already been killed are crying out, Lord, how long? How long? How long will this persecution go on? How many people have to die? And so God is saying, be patient. There are more to join you. So people are dying and Christians are dying everywhere, but the end times it's going to be more severe. And then the last one is seal 6, okay, that is terror. And then what happens is, during seal 6, you see the sun darkens, the moon turns red, there is, the blood moon, and then again earthquake. And then the seventh seal leads to the 7 trumpets. All right. So you understood those 7 seals. So the first, if you see the first 7 seals is all natural. I mean, are all man-made. Sorry, they're all man-made. See, military aggression, famine, all these are caused by men. Okay, except the 7th, which is the earthquake. But then the trumpets is all natural disasters, if you notice that. So the first of the trumpet is scorched earth. So green grass and trees and fields will be scorched, burnt. Then the second one is a polluted seas. So no longer will be able to support life. So it will be all polluted. The sea will no longer be able to support life. So fish will die, everything will die. And then the next third trumpet is, contaminated drinking water. Fresh water will be totally contaminated. And then what happens is, the next one is reduced sunlight. So the sun, moon, and the stars will be dim. And the fifth trumpet is an insect plague from the abyss, it says. It looks so scary, looks like some kind of a locust with helmets and all that, with hair. They are given power to sting. But then it says, those who believe in God are sealed before this. So these are only for the unbelievers. Okay? So they sting and people will seek death, it says. So I called it the insect plague. And then, there's a huge army coming towards the Middle East. There is I believe 200 million men. So a third of human race is wiped out in this war. And then again, at this point, the 7th trumpet, there is an announcement that the kingdom of the Lord and of Christ, he will reign forever and ever. There's an announcement followed by a massive earthquake. So those are the 7 trumpets. And then it is followed by this earthquake and the 7 bowls of wrath. First one is, all this is, terrible on those who, this 7 bowls of wrath, mind you, is only for those who have the mark of the beast, the 666 number. Those who have the mark of the beast, the wrath of God is poured on these. What is the first one? Terrible outbreak of malignant sores on skin. So it's terrible. And then next one is, the sea is turned into blood. You can imagine these things. It sounds like Egypt again, right? And then what happens? And worse. And then why? And then the blood is, the fresh water, river water, and the springs and wells turn into blood. Why? God says, why I'm going to do this? Because they shed the blood of saints. Christians were martyred. So they were given blood to drink. So that's the retribution. And then here in, trumpet 4, the sun was dimmed. But here in the bowl 4, you see the sun is extremely hot. It scorches people, it scorches everything, extremely hot it becomes. So too much of sun here. And then in bowl 5, the beast kingdom, the kingdom of Satan, it becomes really dark. So darkness covers the earth. And then what happens in bowl 6 is, the Euphrates dries up. getting, getting things ready for Armageddon. We'll talk about it in the next study, the war and everything. And then this is once again followed by a universal catastrophe. It's a great earthquake again. I told you every 7 number is a earthquake, but this is universal. It's a massive earthquake. And then, so that there ends the 7 seals, 7. So this is how history is winding down. Everything is coming to an end. So that's how human race is going to end. He's telling us all this. Why is Jesus telling us all this? Because he's telling us what we need to know, the worst. And therefore, we don't need to be surprised when it happens. When it happens, you know, you have already read it. You can't say, I didn't know that. And therefore, not be surprised, it happens. We'll not be caught out. The world will be completely caught out and say, what on earth? What on earth is going on? And what is this world coming to? They will complain. They are taken, by surprise. So we can tell them, we know about these. We've been expecting these things, and Jesus told us it would happen. We can tell them boldly. It's a pretty grim list of disasters. I listed all this to you coming on the world, and we have to ask, how will Christians survive all this? How will we fare in it? But before we look at all these questions, bear in mind, all this will take only 3.5 years. The list of disasters only takes 3.5 years. That means only 42 months, very short time. Okay, very short. You know why it says it's very short? For us believers. I'm going to make this really short because we can't bear it otherwise. So how many days it is? 1,260 days only. So it's a very short time because the Antichrist rule is totally 7 years. But in the middle of 7 years, all these start. So it's just 3.5 years. Now we have in chapter 6, you can turn to chapter 7, sorry. So, there are 3 interludes in this. Like while we are talking about seals, suddenly something, out of the blue it comes, interlude. Okay, so after the 6th seal, there is an interlude, and that is in chapter 7, which comes after the 6th seal, I said. And the second interlude is, so you can just mark it 10 to 11, and the third one is 12 to 13. Now, there has always been, trouble for Christians and Jews. And for Christians, more than 2,000 years, we've always been persecuted down through the ages. When people came to know the truth, they were, either burnt in the stake or they were executed. So down through the ages, Christians always suffered. John said something interesting. He said, the Antichrist will come. But even now, there are many Antichrists. So when, like for example, when Saddam Hussein came or when Hitler came, everybody thought, oh, he must be the Antichrist. Hitler must be the Antichrist. And so even Napoleon, they thought, it seems, was Antichrist. Yes, these are all Antichrists that have already been there, but the Antichrist will come only during the end times. That is the big one, the Antichrist. And similarly, there is going to be a false prophet. Antichrist, false prophet, and Satan, right? So there's going to be a false prophet who is going to, show us a lot of signs and wonders and miracles. But then even now there are so many false prophets. Recently, so many were uncovered. So there are false prophets. In the same way, the 7 seals, all these things are already happening. The wars are happening, the plagues. Now we are in the middle of a huge plague. We are in the middle of a pandemic. It's all happening, but this is not the, end. This is all, shaping up to that. It's all shaping up. The false prophets are there. The plagues are there, but this is not the plague or the things. It's just shaping up for the final, catastrophe that's going to come in the world. So the end times is still it's at hand, but it still has to. We still haven't seen it. Now, for example, the Revelation also mentions a cashless society. And even now, you see that during the pandemic, everybody is talking about a cashless society. They are saying now we have to get rid of cash because we can't be touching money. So it's already beginning. Okay, it's already beginning. So you can't check out in the supermarket with money. It talks about some kind of, you scan your hand or your forehead, it says. So it all seemed like fiction some time ago. Like when we were kids, we used to wonder, what is this mark of the beast? How can you put it in your hand? And then we had all kinds of questions, but now it doesn't seem like fiction anymore. It seems like reality. It's happening. And it's already happening in some parts of the world, in Europe and some places. But no, that's not the mark of the beast. Don't get me wrong, okay? And during the big trouble, we are told that the Jewish people who are believers and Christians will be protected and preserved. Okay, so that's good news. So you see this multitude. You see this multitude of people in white. You see the 144,000 on the right side, the remnant of Israel, who believe in Jesus, who are washed by the blood of Jesus, and these are Christians on the left side. It says that you see all these are washed by the blood of Jesus. The Christians especially are coming out of great tribulation, it says. But if you see the second half of this passage, like, there is misunderstanding about this because they say the Christians are already up in heaven. But in the second part of chapter 7, it's very clear. Chapter 7, verse 14, if you see, it says, they have been washed by the blood of Jesus, coming out of great tribulation, it says. And then it also says in the last part of chapter 7, they have been under the scorching sun, they have been hungry. Verse 16, and not anymore. They will not be scorched by the sun anymore. They will not be hungry anymore. That means they were scorched by the sun, they were hungry, but not anymore, it says. And God is wiping away their tears. They're enough. No need to cry anymore. He's wiping out their tears, it says, because they have been through it and have come out fine. So many will be martyred and the last days, and we'll see, because it says Babylon is drunk with the blood of the saints, it says. So I'll talk about Babylon in the next session, okay? Then let's go to chapter 10 and 11. There is another interlude. In the second interlude, it is after the sixth trumpet. The first interlude was after the sixth seal, and the second interlude is after the seventh trumpet. There you see, John, he's told to eat the scroll. A little book is given to him, and it says, the angel is saying, now eat the scroll, John. And so John had to eat it. And then it first seems to be very sweet. And then it turns bitter and sour, it says. In some of the version, it's sour, some it's bitter. So what is this? What is making it sour? What is sweet? I feel the book of Revelation itself is a book. It's a sweet and bitter book. Sweet when you think of when you think that Jesus wins, it's sweet. The end is victory, so it's sweet. Bitter when you see what we are going to go through, the terrible events that are the bad news. So the bad news before the good news. So it is actually bitter, sweet. Then we are told that, these two witnesses will appear in Jerusalem. And the beast will, these two witnesses, what they are going to do? They're going to stop the rain. They can pronounce plagues, pestilences, and also, if anyone attacks them, the fire of their mouth will destroy them, it says. So these two witnesses are going to appear in Jerusalem. And the beast is going to wage war against these two. Now, there is a very interesting thing. The whole world is going to see these two. How will the whole world see? This is happening in Jerusalem. How will the whole world, from every type, tongue, people, nation, how will the whole world see this event for 3 days? The beast is going to wage war, and for 3 days they are going to lie dead there. How the Revelation says the whole world will see these events. How?
Live telecast.
Live
Live
telecast,
stream.
television. Revelation talks about television without us realizing. You see, there is television there. The whole world is watching what's happening to these two witnesses. Okay, that's a point to be noted. And then what happens? Beast kills them. 3 days they lie, and nobody is allowed to bury them. And breath from heaven comes, and they become alive, and they are sent to heaven. What a spectacular thing. Imagine us all watching this. Amazing. 3 days, And then that's going to be spectacular, and people will see them ascending to heaven. Now, who are these two? Does the Bible say anything about it? Who are these two witnesses? There are many speculation, but the identity is really misplaced. So I don't want to speculate. I don't know who they are, but they are just two witnesses. Then let's go to chapter 13 to 14. That's the final interlude. The final interlude, when things get really tough for believers. This is the toughest part for believers. So
Oh, that looks like a vaccine.
yeah, it's it looks
Crazy.
like a vaccine, yes. So believers on there's going to be a one world government. Okay, it's going to be in the hands of an unholy trinity: Satan, Antichrist, and the false prophet. They are going to rule the world. The final government will be a dictatorial government and totalitarian government. And that's when we cannot shop, we cannot buy food unless we have this dreadful number in our bodies. The false prophet is going to do miracles. Many people will be, even the believers, will be fooled by him. And so it's going to be a terrible time. And the false prophet doing miracles will bolster this regime of this dictator, Antichrist. And so here we have this regime that's going to be a dictatorship, and that's the final interlude. So before, we thought it'll be some code like what you see in right end, the barcode. And then now we see that people are being, some kind of a chip, microchip is being implanted. But we don't know, in a few years, something even more high tech might come. So we are just speculating. It could be this, it could be that, but there is going to be a mark of the beast. The number is 666, and we need wisdom. God says we need wisdom to decipher this number. We don't know what this is, but it says it's the name of the beast. So we don't know what it is. God has to give us the wisdom to understand what it is. Then you see there are 3 angels, and this vision compensates for all the horrors. It's a foretaste of our future. So what do these angels say? Somebody can read the first one. What does the first angel say?
From here, Auntie, or from the Bible?
Yeah, from here or from the Bible, it doesn't matter.
Fear God and give him glory, because the hour of his judgment has come. Worship him who made the heaven and the earth and sea and springs of water.
Yes. So we as believers, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to fear God, give him glory all the time, because the hour of judgment is at hand. Okay, so worship him and worship the God who made the heavens and the earth. Simple. These are the instructions. These are the takeaways today. These are what those three angels told us. They gave us command how to be during the end times. The second instruction. Somebody read, please. Yeah, unmute and read, please.
If anyone worships the beast and its image and receives a mark on his forehead or on his hand, will also drink of the wine of the wrath of God. He'll be tormented with fire and brimstone.
So we can never take this mark because that is damnation. So this is a warning. So if you take the mark of the beast, we are condemned forever and tormented by fire. So that's hell for us. And then what is the third commandment?
Blessed are the dead.
who die in the Lord.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Nitin read.
No, go ahead.
You can read, it's okay.
You read.
Okay. Blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now
Die
on.
in the Lord from now on.
Let's just read it together.
You read.
So that they may rest from their labors. You can finish up.
For their deeds follow with them.
All right. So these are the three commandments given by the three angels. There are many more things in these chapters 6 to 16. There are those three women, but I'm going to continue that in the next study about the three women. One is, a woman clothed in the sun. Some people think it's Mary, and the child is Jesus. We'll clearly study what that is. Some think it's Israel and the Messiah. And some people say it's women, and it's the woman is the church, and her offspring is the martyrs. Let's study about that next time. And also, how Satan is cast out by Michael, and all these, and that Satan comes and wants to swallow this woman. All this we would study next time. And then there are two more women. One is the filthy woman, the filthy prostitute, that is Babylon, and the other woman also is a pure bride. So all this are there to study next time. So let's when will all this happen? There are like kind of many interpretations. I'll just briefly go through it. When will these happen? Many people, there are three kinds of people. One group is called the preterists. They think it has already happened during the Roman time, but we know it's not true, because all these have not yet happened. And then there is the historicists who say, we have already been going through it. It's not happened, but we are in the middle of it. But we are not in the middle of it. We haven't seen these happening. Then there is the futurist. They think it's going to happen during the end times. And so I believe in the futurist, because we know that it hasn't happened yet. It's going to be in the future. And then there is the idealists who say all these are just, analogies, and these are not going to really happen. It is just like a moral science story. So those are the four schools of interpretation. So I stick with the futurists, and you can all decide where you want to fit in. And continue to keep reading this book of Revelation if you haven't finished. Now, when you read, you'll understand, you'll have some idea of what's going on. So you continue to read and finish it, so that the next session we can finish up Revelation. Okay. And so do you have any questions?
Yeah, I had one question. The two witnesses, were they born or did they come from heaven?
Yeah, even
Or
I
were
had
they
that
born?
question.
The witnesses appeared in Jerusalem. So they were born or not, it's not given there. Two witnesses came into Jerusalem. We don't know about that.
Auntie, but we do have as Rajan said, we do have some reference saying that two of the prophets who were taken without death, Elijah,
Elijah
yeah,
and
there is a possibility, Elijah and one more, I forgot his name.
Moses and Elijah.
Oh,
Also, there's a
Moses and
reference in the Old Testament,
yeah,
like where
yeah,
it mentions two witnesses in the book of Malachi, if I suppose, if I'm not wrong. So
yeah.
I mean, it's not very clear given in the book of Revelation, but then with some references we can speculate it's 90%.
yeah,
I have read
it's
that.
all, yeah, it's only speculation. We really
Speculation,
don't know.
because the plagues Moses only created, I mean, did that, and the not raining was Elijah, so that's why they speculate that. No.
Yeah. I really don't know. I'm scared to speculate because it may be wrong. We may be wrong. So I just tell there were two witnesses. Okay, we'll know if we are alive till then we'll know who they are.
Auntie, where does it say about the one world government in Revelations?
The beast will rule, right?
Okay.
It says
I
in
came across
chapter 13
this.
to 14. 13 to
Okay,
14.
I came across this thing. There is a patent number 060606. It's by Bill Gates. It's for cryptocurrency, using your human body or something.
Mm-hmm.
Go check it out, Auntie. It's very interesting.
Okay.
All these people, they're it's all in plain sight, Auntie. Auntie, you can just go and Google the patents and you can see what it does, what the application is. It's all
Yes.
right here. You just need to
Yes, and
do your
lot of
research.
things, yeah. Auntie, have you ever seen the United Nations symbol?
Hey, yo, the World
That was
Economic
really, I was really
Forum.
shocked. Come on, United Nations has a snake in their symbol. Okay. That
The thing
already
is,
that
Wait,
Satan is
United
doing his part
Nations
really
or
well.
the Economic
Yeah,
Forum?
one at a time. What was we can't see anything, Tanu.
We
What
all
is
want to talk about
what?
snake in the symbol. Let's talk about the Medical Association and their snakes.
Yes, that's the WHO symbol, I think. The snake around the sword or the cross or something.
yeah.
There's there's the Greek messenger god, that's his staff, the Gemini twins.
Yeah, I talked about it last time also, about the symbol of snake, right? When we were doing the churches.
The thing is, like, we sometimes tend to take everything like as a symbol. Like, we see WhatsApp forward saying like one man received a vision, Jesus will start coming from Tamil Nadu, something like that. The thing is, like, how many of you saw my cake yesterday? One guy pointed out there are 666 on the cake, like the design, I mean, which actually kind of look like 666. So, like, we normally, like, see, if we are having that kind of mindset, like, we will start saying everything looks like that. But yeah, that's true. Like, there is some things happening on,
signs.
yeah, going on. But then I think we shouldn't like take it that common.
See, when it happens, it's going to be very clear. You're not going to be able to buy and sell. You need to take that. So that is the time. So it will start coming, but the end times, it will be so clear. Christians or believers cannot buy or sell. So you will have no doubt whether this is the number or that's the number. You will know it is that, and you'll have
You're seeing it happen today, Auntie.
Yes,
you
yes.
see these places, the World Economic Forum. Let's take the World Economic Forum for an example. They have a 666 in their symbol. Like, if there are 3 O's and there's a crescent moon that kind of cuts through everything, and you can see 3 6s. And they talk about cashless society and
Yes.
communism, and how in 20 years you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. It's all right there, Auntie.
Yes. It's see, the stage is being
And
set.
on top of that,
You're getting stuck, Robin.
Auntie, if I'm audible, like thing is like the Bible describes birth pangs will be there everywhere in the last 7 years, which I don't think
and you
we
see
are
this whole
seeing
cancel
anywhere.
culture. If you don't conform to what the world tells you to conform to, you'll get canceled.
Yes.
Suddenly it's super fast.
I mean, the Bible says like we see birth pangs, in the last 7 years, and I don't think we see it anywhere. Like, I mean, it's like full of tormentation, persecution of Christians, and yes, we do see a lot of persecution even today, but I don't think to that degree like where the Bible describes in the last 7 years.
It'll be like
That's
it
where
has
I'm
never
convinced
happened like
it hasn't
that before.
started.
It'll be so intense that and when the Antichrist
So
appears,
the three. Sorry, Andy. I mean, the three things you mentioned, right? Like some believe in, it has already happened, or some believe it's happening, and some believe it doesn't happen. I believe. I mean, I will go with the third thing you said, Andy. Like it hasn't started.
It hasn't happened yet. Yes, exactly.
Maybe it's close to start. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe we are at the very end, but the last day hasn't. We are in the last days already, but it has the Antichrist rule hasn't started yet. So we are very close to it. That I'm sure.
Auntie, and I also read somewhere that Billy Graham's death was a very major sign about the beginning of tribulation. I think he died 2 years ago, if I'm not wrong. So I could totally relate to it now when we had after the pandemic and all. I really think that it's my opinion, just that I really think that it's a huge sign.
What? Yeah, I know. But what about Ravi's death then? I mean, what about other evangelists' death, which happened in the last 3 years? I mean,
yeah. He was also dead, but Billy Graham, I think he was 99 when he died. Lord gave him a lot of years to live for a very major reason, I believe. So his death, it really shook me, because I when I read that it is going to be a sign for the beginning of persecution, I was like, okay.
Actually, that's the problem with many WhatsApp posts we see nowadays. Like, I mean, I read a post which said like somewhere like from the Bible, actually they gave some reference. It will start from Tamil Nadu, which is actually unbiblical. So where Jesus will start coming from Tamil Nadu and pick up all of us up and then go to Jerusalem. I mean,
like you said, if you keep looking for signs, you'll see a sign. You'll be like, hey, that's it. Hey, that's it. Every day you'll be like, oh, the end is now. The end is now.
Yeah. Better we keep our eyes on the Word of God, and what are the signs that God has given us through the Word that we need to look out for. Okay. And we just live life faithful to the Lord. The 3 commands we saw, keep worshiping God, keep being faithful to God. And then He will see us through all the troubles and tribulations. He will give us the grace and the strength. If you ask me, if they put a knife to your throat, will you deny Jesus? I'm really terrified of all that. But I believe that when that time comes, He'll give me the grace. If they have to put a knife to my throat, and I believe that He will give me the strength, not to deny Him. But right now, we're all scared, right? It's so scary to think of all that. So better not to think of those terrible things, but just say, God, strengthen me for whatever I have to face. And just be awake, God said. Be awake. Don't sleep. Be awake. Because the signs are all about us.
Yeah, I remember you telling us, Perima, to pray that God prepare you to be able to stand firm in the last days, and that's really important, I think, for us to pray for.
It's true. And also about the rapture, also we need to talk the next class. What does the Bible say about it? Okay.
And different people give different interpretations for the rapture.
Then for the rapture, there are different schools of thoughts, you know. Oh my. So let's learn about it the next time, definitely, God willing. Okay. So keep your eyes on the Lord and keep walking, you know, that faith walk. All right. God is with you.
Thank you very much.
So anything else you need to ask? Otherwise, we can close.
You're rushing through the chapters, Auntie. 20 chapters in one sitting.
Then I think it'll take like 21 years to complete. So if it is not,
I'm just picking out the.
I think we're getting. Yeah, I think we're getting all the useful information from Auntie. So that's.
Yeah, I am rushing. I know that. But then you know
all the important things.
Yeah, we just what we need to know. I'm just picking up. Okay. And what's important, everything is important, of course, but what you need to know right now. So the rest of it, it's a overview, okay? So I'm not going in detail. So you need to go and read the Bible and understand what it is. After I teach you, again you read, okay? Then you'll understand better, okay? So then we can.
I like how you're not pushing your view and your perception of everything onto us, Auntie. That's very nice. Very appreciate that.
Yes, I want you to decide.
Yes.